You're welcome to yet another edition of Contemplation, coming to you from the studios of MTA International in London. In this week's edition of the program, we are looking at a very important issue, that is gambling. But before we begin, let's give you a small intro about the subject. A social problem that has and continues to bedevil society since ages is that of gambling. Many people have made fortunes from gambling. At the same time, many more have become poor with homes broken through gambling. Though gambling is known as a social problem all over the world, most governments operate gambling infrastructure to raise money for development. In fact, records show that at some point in Ghana's history, the Department of National Lotteries provided some 20% of the national budget from the lotto business. In this week's edition, we take a look at gambling. And with me to do the analysis in the studio are to my immediate left, Azar Hanif, who is an American missionary. You're welcome. I'm sure you're coming on the program for the first time. And next to him is Ahmed Anderson. Ahmed Anderson is the General Secretary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission in Ghana. So, gentlemen, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Azar, let me throw the first question to you. What is gambling?
Gambling as an institution refers to the passing of money for the sake of a quick and easy return without any effort on the part of the individual in the normal course of business or enterprise, where you have to apply yourself. You have to work hard, you have to struggle, you have to go through the normal system of economics to achieve a gain or experience a loss. Gambling says in the Quran, the word is al-maisar. Al-maisar means something you get it very easily and it produces a profit. So it's that quick riches that everyone wants to have in their lifetime without any consequence or any responsibility in earning it. This is a basic definition of gambling, right, and this is why we frown upon it as such.
Right, we will come back to you for more of the Quranic interpretation. But let me ask you another quick one. In your submission, you stated that it is something that you do without much effort. Let me give you another hypothetical example. In Ghana, you see people, at midnight, working lotto from, let's say, 1 a.m. at times to 7 the following day. You see that there is a lot of effort, strenuous effort, mental effort, at times physical effort, before you arrive at the numbers. But you stated that it's something you do without effort. What would others say? Others would disagree with you on that.
Yes, it's true. In the occupation of anything, there's going to be some effort. The occupation of a person who's going to steal requires some effort. The person who's going to go about and commit all kinds of acts which may be unlawful requires effort. But this is not the effort which we're referring to here. It means the normal effort one makes in growing crops or producing or running a business or achieving something which is worthwhile. Now, you can apply yourself in anything in life, and that's for one to choose. But here we say the effort that normally goes into production for an individual and a nation. It doesn't just mean that I as an individual can do something for my personal gain and there's no consequence. So the effort here is not one which is productive, it is actually counterproductive. And this is where people can say, yeah, they're doing things, but it's always counterproductive. I'm referring to production and positive ways of improving the world, improving oneself. That is not gambling.
Mr. Anderson, still on effort, let's situate it within the Ghanaian context. It has been argued that money looks for money. So, and there are so many ways of killing a cat. If I have to wake up, work my lotto, stop everything, put in efforts, because once again, they claim that it involves mental effort. At times you see sweat all over them. And you can see in their eyes that these are people who are passionate about what they do. They need money. He's waking up in the middle of the night. He's determined to hit a jackpot. Would you relegate his effort to the background?
Yes, you see, it is not every effort that is recommended or is acceptable in society. Like Hanif Saab was saying, many people commit a lot of crimes. In so doing, they put in a lot of effort. If people are going to robbery, like he said, in Ghana we talk about armed robbery a lot. They plan it. You know, it takes time. It requires energy. They put in a lot of effort in doing whatever, or in putting into action whatever plan they have. So you see that, yes, they are putting in that much effort, but look at it. What is this effort, bringing? There is an effort that is going to harm a lot of people. It's an attempt that they are making, to gain property without paying the price for it.
We'll come back to that without paying anything for that. Others would also argue that they put in money. Somebody can stake 500,000 Ghana cedis, 10,000, 20,000 Ghana cedis, but we will come back to that in a jiffy. Let me come back to you. Would you say it is a sin, gambling is a sin or a crime? Because somebody could argue that I haven't stolen money, I haven't killed anybody, I haven't robbed anybody. Mm-hmm. This is my money. I need more. Mm-hmm. Let me invest it by waking up in the night and trying to put some numbers together. What is the Quranic position on that? Would you say it is a sin?
The Quranic position is very clear. The Quran is a beautiful way of expressing how to look at everything in life. It doesn't outright condemn anything because God has created everything for some purposes which are good. Even in the worst things you see in life, there are some good things in it. So the Quran speaks that in the game of chance, in wine, it uses wine, puts these two together, wine and the game of chance. In both of these things, there is a great sin, ithmun kabir. So this ithmun kabir means that this is a sin itself which perpetuates more and more sin. The first act will lead to another act which continues down a path which exponentially expands as you go along. It doesn't just stop with one single act of a person saying, well, it's just me, it's my money. I have my right over, I can spend it as I wish. You would hope that would be the case, but when you start to see the progression of this act, the first act, it leads to the second one, which involves that person now affecting everyone around them in their own family, then a community, and then the nations, to the point now where 4 years ago they analyzed how much money has been spent in the simple act of this gambling by all these people collectively. It was $335 billion US. It was a staggering amount of money. That's 4 years ago. Imagine what it is today, and that's legal gambling. We're not even looking at the illegal forms of it. I would then say to that person, if I could give your nation 1/3 of that money, how much more you would benefit individually and collectively. And this was happened in the nations where the poor people are caught up in this trap saying, oh, it's just a simple game. It's just me passing my money freely. Look how you invest your money. This is how you have to understand it. Your money is an investment not just for you, it's your family and your future. How do you want to invest that money? Because you're not going to have X amount per lifetime. And this is where Quran says it is a great sin in which there are some benefits.
It is a great sin.
Great sin.
So it is a sin.
It's a sin in which there are some benefits, but there's also loss.
Now, another turning point, a great sin, but some profit for men. Could you clarify that? Because somebody could also say that, after all, the Quran even says that there is some profits in gambling, without looking at the overall context contained therein.
Yes,
what do you say to that, some profits?
Well, this is important. I'm glad you mentioned this. It's the context. The Arabs who used to go to war had a system where they would use lots, casting of lots, amongst the very wealthy amongst them. And whoever's name would come up, they would have to provide food and wine for the armies. So the money would be generated, and also the wine to kind of give the soldier, as you know, nowadays they may use drugs or whatever, but the wine would give the soldier the courage to go into battle and fight for the people. So this was why the Quran says, of course, we know there was some advantage in this. This is how people used to go to war. But for Muslims, this is not going to be the way, because your natural bravery and courage and patriotism should be enough. You don't need wine to give you that state. And two, there are better ways to raise funds. And so you shouldn't have recourse to gambling as an institution to raise the funds for war. Again, we should be inspired by our national causes and national needs to just all give our money. And if people would give their money instead of giving to gambling, we would solve so many social problems in our nations. In the USA alone, there are all the problems in the inner city neighborhood. If the inner city people would stop gambling and take their money and just use it for housing and education and good streets and hospitals, we'd have wonderful communities. But they're caught up in the trap of gambling and also what? Wine, alcoholism.
Right. Mr. Anderson, let's come back to Ghana within the context of gambling situations. Let me quote from here. That the Ghana Gaming Commission is a statutory body established by an act of parliament. It's been established by an act of parliament to regulate, monitor, supervise, and control games of chance in the country, excluding national lotto. So this has been legalized, Ghana Gaming Commission. And realize that it offers employment, this sort of gaming business, to many people. We are crying about lack of employment and so on and so forth. Would you say in a way we are wrong as a nation, because we seem to have had an antidote to unemployment in the name of gambling?
It's very unfortunate that in the name of creating employment, you would want to use this sort of institution, which, as far as I'm concerned, the social ills that comes out of this so much outweighs whatever employment that is supposed to have created. Let me give you some practical example. In Ghana, for instance, yes, gambling in the form of lotto and betting and what have you are all backed by law. So, quote unquote, legally, the people are not doing anything against the law. But if, like I said earlier, if you are going to create employment in the name of gambling, we have star betting, we have premier betting and what have you in Ghana. Some shops have come up. At the end of the day, these shops are filled up with young girls and women of all ages. Can you imagine the social consequences coming out of all this type of thing, simply because we want to create jobs? At the end of the day, you even talked about the national gross national product having a certain percentage or so coming from game. But remember, that is an amount which has been deprived from some poor homes, amount which otherwise could have been used in some other profitable ventures, which would would have generated far much more income, first to the individuals involved. Once people get income, in a way that is what totality make the national income. But we are depriving them of this livelihood. At the end of the day, they become poorer. So yes, the advert goes in Ghana, they say, even if you don't win, your money goes into development. That is what the advert goes in Ghana. Unfortunately, that is an illusion. If we are going to leave or make chance the arbiter of conduct, then I'm afraid to say that will subvert morality and stability.
Most of these people who win this jackpot claim that they've had some of these numbers through prayer, incessant prayer. So they pray, and then in the night, perhaps an angel visits them and it gives them the numbers, and then truly they stick and win. You believe in revelation.
Yes, of course.
So if these numbers came from on high, would you rebut them? Would you say that they are wrong in going to stake these numbers? And then another quick one. If they should provide some of the money for social services, contribute some of these money for social services, I want you to tie the two.
Yes.
Where do you stand?
Well, the first point is it's not for us to judge what a person is saying they feel and they experience. They can say they're seeing pink elephants walking around in the room. I can't deny that. But the reality is every scripture is condemning this, that God does not condone this type of behavior. So if God himself is saying to us as a human creation, I don't condone it. In fact, I condemn it in very clear words. How would that same being begin to reveal a system for us to benefit by that which he doesn't himself like? It doesn't make sense. So in this course of chance, and gambling is based on chance. As they say, even the blind squirrel every now and then will find the nut in the field. And that person, out of probability, will every now and then win and blame it on the fact that for the whole life they've been saying, last night God told me this number and I betted and I lost. Again, I betted and I lost. One time out of a million times he may say, I won, that proved God spoke to me. That's playing chance with God. Number two, the religious system, which again condemns this kind of behavior, doesn't want to absorb the ill-gotten wealth from those who are doing it. So in Islam particularly, we frown upon those who earn wealth unlawfully and try to use that for good purposes. The wealth should be earned properly, lawfully, legally, and then given back to God, because in the end, we're giving back to the being who's well aware how we earned this.
Mr. Anderson, let's come back once again to Ghana. Could you tell us some of the effects of gambling on the youth especially?
I mean, yes, you can find in Ghana what they call blue kiosks or whatever, springing up every corner. And then you will find people, instead of looking for jobs to do, gathering in the name of banker to banker, as they call it, and there will be a lotto professor, who himself knows nothing to whatever, being in front of these people in the name of calculating perming numbers to come out with probable figures that will, at the end of the day, help them win lotteries. And that is spending time, productive hours. Sometimes it's sad to go to offices and find people with lotto papers. The hours that they are supposed to use in engaging in productive ventures, these people will be, as they say it, calculating lotto numbers at the end of the day at the expense of the state. And I've seen people sell. I have a colleague worker selling his car in the name of this, what you described as a revelation, having dreamt about some numbers and was so sure that he was going to win. And so he needed to win it big. Sold the car and then staged this lotto. And at the end of the day, lost the money and everything. The problems that he brought at home far, far, far outweighs anything at all anybody can think of. You see, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, his prophets have described gambling as a disease. It's such a disease that anybody should not go near. So that if you know what will affect your health negatively, why then, as a Muslim, since we are talking in context of Muslims and Islam, why would you go near when you know that your purpose here is not the acquisition of this wealth? In any case, Islam doesn't forbid acquisition of wealth. That is not what I'm saying. But for instance, Islam frowns on ill-gotten wealth.
But before I allow you to continue, let me push in this. Let's try to see if we can solve this ambiguity. The government legalizes lotto. It gets a lot of money. We are told at a point the government, got almost 20%, of the national budget from the lotto business. So there is legalization. People work lotto in offices. It gives the government money. And the government at the same time is not happy that people should spend productive hours calculating lotto. What should be the way out?
Do you know how much percentage of GDP? that we are losing as a result of people working lotto in the offices, as compared to the 20 or so % that you are talking about. You see, idle time in any serious productive venture, is something that, in a private business world, nobody will entertain that. And for me, if they will do that proper research, I can tell you that more than 50% of GDP, if you so, is lost through the working of looters in offices. I mean, you are witness to this, that people get to the offices, and because they know this looter professor wherever, small time they will sneak out of the office, to go and see. And the man will also do it in such a way that after working 1 or 2 figures, you say, follow me to this corner. And all those hours could have been used in producing what could have generated a higher percentage.
Right, we wish we had more time for you to talk about this, but it's amazing that these so-called lotto professors most of the times look weird in appearance, because if they claim to have these numbers, they shouldn't be looking that wretched. Let me come back to you. Could you give us some practical examples during the time of the Holy Prophet of Islam, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how he dealt with issues of gambling? So
yes. During his lifetime, when